Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with our. There we go. That looked a little brighter. Looked a bit dark for a second. Let's see if I can use HomeKit and brighten up my desk lamp just a little bit. How's everyone doing this fine evening? Welcome to March, first March 2018 stream we've had so far. Disney buying Apple. Emil says hello. I Super Speedy 2000 says hey. Apple reviews. Munib, Kim Jong, Shrek. Everyone's here. Welcome. How's everyone doing? On schedule with your 11:30 night live stream. Hey, my friend, are you doing a collab with that front page tech guy? That is the plan at this moment in time. The objective is still to do that collaboration video. That'll be on. It'll be a live stream, as if I am correct. I believe that's not an edited thing, and it will be on his channel. So he's not showing up on this channel. So if you're refreshing Tailosive Tech tomorrow, still tomorrow night, for a lot of you probably today, then it won't be here. It'll be on his channel. So make sure if you want to see that live stream, subscribe to him, turn that bell on. And it is moderated by Roberto Blake, who has offered to do the moderation, because I guess we're going to be I guess we're going to be aggressive or something, or we're going to need moderation of some kind. I don't know, but this is mostly his idea, so I'm letting him run it. I'm not going to interfere or anything. Just going to let him do what he does so well. Also, if this is your first time watching a live stream now, very cool option is opened up. We now have Super Chat on iOS, which is something that a lot of people have asked for so long. So no longer do you have to go find the live stream in the browser itself. Now, you can simply hit that little money icon if you want a comment to be definitely read. I was just checking to see if it's still there, because YouTube likes to change things. Yep, it's still there. There's still a little super chat icon. I don't need to super chat myself, but yeah, that is cool. Roberto Blake is another YouTuber, Twitter personality, a lot larger channel than I am. He doesn't focus as much on tech. He does lots of other things, but he wanted to moderate the debate, and so they're going to do that. It's his project. The Apple headphones video you put out was probably the most cringe ever. No offense. No, why would I be offended by that? Well, what made it cringy? Was there something cringy about it? I thought I was just reporting the news. I want to know how I can do it better. I feel like there's been much more cringier videos in my time. The thumbnail? Oh, there's been worse thumbnails than that. You must be new. It's just a slap the Siri animation thing on the headphones, and then that's it. It's just supposed to be like, oh, that's what the next gen could look like. I'm not a concept artist. Except don't be too addicted. Take some time to yourself. Super chat iPhones? Yeah, you can. If you're on iOS now, super chat button is in the chat. It's just in my opinion. Oh, come on. There's been worse for thumbnails than that. Slap the Siri animation on white beats. Good to go. Exactly. Andrew, super chat. It says, watching you live outside in the rain on my iPhone. Wow, what a world. Also, I just rediscovered OG Teen Titans. Also, missed the blue background. Why? We still have blue background. There's blue back here. It's dark because that's all you need to see. And there's also blue on this wall. There's blue on that wall. There's blue everywhere. It's still there. Name 5 reasons on the spot why iPhone 10 is us better than S9. Love your video. Okay. Let's see. For one, we have iOS. We have Apple Watch. We have AirPods. We have good cameras. They're not, DxO scored the S9 higher, but it doesn't have a Bixby button. And iPhone 10 has, they're very similar in terms of features, I guess. But I would say ecosystem is what protects me from switching back to Android. Basically, iPhone's going to get updates every single year that are significant. Samsung is not. They're going to get minor updates a year after they've been unveiled. So I don't know if that was 5, but a lot of reasons ecosystem, because S9 is a great phone, but there's a reason I'm not switching from my iPhone 10 to that. Does not have certain things that I need in a phone. I'm sorry, Super Chat is not available in Israel. That sucks. I wish I could change that. 5 reasons why S9 is better than Pixel 2 XL. Oh, easy. Price-wise, it's cheaper. It has a dual camera. You can do 4K at 60. If you care about that sort of thing, the headphone jack. I don't, but if you do, S9 has that option. Included headphones on top of that. If I pay you 40,000 US dollars, will you buy the Tesla Model 3 with max options? Whatever the options are that allow for 40,000, because I don't think max options is 4,000 US dollars. But yeah, I would love that. Please do that. Do you have Nintendo Switch? And if you do, what is your thoughts after 1 year? I've never owned a Nintendo Switch. I've used several. My editor Nathan has one, and my friend's friend has one. Not a fan. If you don't like Nintendo, then you won't like the Switch. That's all really it's about. It's not really a piece of hardware that's super impressive. It's just if you like Nintendo's games, they're on the Switch. So if you enjoy Nintendo games, then you can enjoy them on that. But I do not. I'm not a Nintendo fan. I don't have Beat Solo 3, no. I've listened to them, though. S9's display is also leagues beyond the Pixel 2 XLs. That is correct. Both in display to bezel ratio and also brightness. CPU is supposed to be faster, but we also got some benchmarks today saying that 845 was actually slower than the 835, which makes no sense. We don't know. I don't know why. But do you think the iPhone 10 Plus will be able to do 960 FPS like the S9? I'm not sure. For a couple reasons. For one, I think iPhones totally could have 960 FPS if they wanted to at this point, because the processors on them, when you're recording video at that high of a frame rate, a lot of it is dependent on just how fast the CPU can write data. And the fact that iPhones can do 4K at 60 and stuff like that, and their Geekbench scores are way higher than that of the S9. I don't think that they can't do 960. I think the reason they don't is they don't like Samsung's method of super slow-mo or whatever, where it's, you know, it's 960 frames a second, but it doesn't even record for a quarter of a second. Less than a quarter of a second, it's recording in super duper slow-mo. And you can do it manually, which is kind of awkward, which is just like, okay, and go. Like, the length of time it would take you to take a picture is the length of time you have to record 960 FPS, which is why I think it's kind of, why do they call it 960 FPS if it doesn't even get to 960? What's the point? But the difference is that you have to literally select a box on the display in which motion is detected in order for the slow motion to actually be noticed, which seems like such a rare, complicated, like, I don't think Apple would want to explain that in iOS. Like, okay, select a box on the screen, and now if something moves across that box, you'll be able to slow down just that part. It's too specific and narrow casted that I don't think Apple would be as into it unless they could figure out a way to do 960 FPS more consistently, more than, you know, a fifth of a second, which is rather complicated. And specific, which they're probably not as into. My point is, via software update, I bet any iPhone could do that. They just choose not to because it's so complicated. They don't want to have to explain to people how exactly all that works. But Super Chatter says, sorry, I just got in. No worries. There's no reason to apologize. Drew's the iPhone 10 Plus going to have a higher storage? I would be shocked, to be honest. I really don't think there's a need for higher than 256. That's really crazy high. I haven't felt that yet. My iPad 10.5-inch is 512, not even close to filling this guy. I just got it because I was like, an iPad with half a terabyte. This is amazing. I love it. So that's why I got into it. But yeah, I don't think putting that on an iPhone is as necessary. If there were more people complaining that, like, hey, 256 isn't enough, then maybe they'd switch. But there just isn't. There's not a crazy amount of people complaining about that. Most people just miss the 128. They're like, 64 isn't enough, 256 is too much. My argument's always been, well, that's the point. You don't want to fill up your storage. You want more than enough. That's the idea. So yeah, that's kind of my stand on it right now. I don't think they will. If they do, that's fine. I don't mind. But it's probably unnecessary. Cole Crawford super chatted says, I got a second interview to work for Apple. If the channels don't work out, would you consider working for Apple? I got this question a couple times. I don't really know what I could do. Maybe something in marketing, because honestly, I feel like I do work for Apple already. I'm just not getting paid by them. I'm getting paid by Google to sell Apple products, which is ironic. But I don't know what I could help them with other than like, the extremely rare position of telling software designers how things ought to work, because I have a lot of ideas on how hardware should be or how software should behave, but I'm not an engineer. I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do any of those things. So I don't know. They probably wouldn't hire me unless I could do some kind of like Apple Music video service exclusive or something like that, like a tech journalist that's only on Apple Music to encourage people to switch to Apple Music, and then Apple pays me or something like that. I don't know, but I feel like personally, people wouldn't. I don't know. I wouldn't have as much control over what I do now, because right now, if Apple messes up on something or I don't like them, I can just say so. Whereas if I worked for them, I probably wouldn't have that freedom. Like I make fun of Apple's marketing. I'm like, their marketing sucks. They could do better. Let me do better. And then I also say like their naming sucks. I don't like the way they name their iPhones. It should have been 7S and Edition, but that's just me. I probably couldn't get away with that kind of thing if I worked for Apple. So that's why you'd make a good consumer consultant, I feel, says Marty Ventura. That's probably a good point, but I don't know if that's something you apply for or it's more something they reach out and ask you to do. I feel like that's a job I could do alongside YouTube. But if the channels didn't work out, I don't think applying for Apple would be my first move. I don't think so. What is your favorite season of The Office? Ooh, Samuel, good question. Probably season 5. That's a solid season. Would 2018 iPhone 10 Plus get delayed like iPhone 10 production? Hello from Indonesia. Thank you, Kendra, for your question. I don't think so, because the primary reason the 10 got slowed down was they were making drastic jumps and manufacturing and building costs that was not really prepared for by other companies. They were not ready for the new displays and the new Face ID sensors. All of those had to be kind of brought up from nothing, and it was a drastic change from last year. Whereas this year, we're just kind of getting bigger versions of what we already have. So I don't think changing the manufacturing process will be as complicated. So I think it'll be pretty. I think it'll be pretty simple. I don't think it'll be delayed. I think you'll be able to buy a 10 and 10 Plus in September, unless something else goes wrong. But for the most part, I think they've gotten the sales of the 10 down, and they also know. They also know at the same time that not as many people will be upgrading this year, just because last year was the super cycle. They had crazy numbers last year, crazy turnout for iPhone sales, biggest iPhone release ever, and yet they were low on units. So this year, now we've got more diversifying, which means more people will want different versions of each iPhone. I think it'll be easier. Of course, we'll still have to wait outside Apple stores at 4 a.m. That won't change, but I don't think the units will be as hard to produce. I don't think it'll be delayed, personally. You're doing live streams on Front Page Tech at 10 p.m. tomorrow. Is it just on his channel or yours also? Just on his. Make that very clear to everyone watching. The live stream, I'll be appearing on Front Page Tech's channel. That'll be on his. Nothing's going on here in regards to a live stream. This is it. This is the live stream. If you say, hello, Siri, when both the HomePod and your iPhone are next to you, do they both cue Siri, or does the HomePod take priority? So that's a good question. The HomePod does take priority, but you can sometimes see the iPhone hear you. Like, for instance, right now, I won't demonstrate because I don't want to set off your devices, but I've got a HomePod on either side of the iMac and then my iPhone in the middle, or then my iPad to the left. If I say, hello, Siri, right now, it will activate on all of them. But it will default to the HomePod that heard me best, because the HomePod has the better microphones. It can control the HomeKit devices. It has the better speaker. So Apple was smart and said, let the HomePod take precedence. So what will happen is Siri might pop up on the iPhone, but then it'll disappear. And it'll be like, oh, HomePod heard it. So I like how they designed that. Hi, Super Speedy 2000 says, OMG, I can donate from YouTube app on iPad now. You can. That is now an option. And thank you for your donation. Yeah, it's now there. Okay, the S9 is out. Are you planning to do a review? It sounds like a fan is going to send me one that I can use for like a couple weeks, and then I have to return it, but because they want it, of course. But I don't anticipate much interestingness to come out of the S9 review, because I reviewed the S8. This is practically the same thing. Nearly anything changed, and I have a lot of issues personally with the S9 update. It's still the best Android phone. I'm not denying that, but it's still, on top of that, is still an Android phone So I'm not going to switch to it. So I don't know what people are expecting me to say. Have you guys seen the changes between the manual aperture? Like, it's cool that that's the first time they've ever done that on a smartphone, but it doesn't really add anything. So it's like, I think there's a reason no one's done this before. I think there's a specific reason no one's switching to the. Sorry, I just got a text. There's a reason no one's switching to the manual aperture, because I think personally, if the S9 would have just had a 1.5 and it didn't affect anything, it didn't move, it was just a fixed 1.5 aperture, the pictures would have looked the same. Like, all you got to do is go to MKBHD's Twitter page and look at the comparisons between a 1.5 and 2.4 aperture. Barely anything changes at all. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to buy a phone just because low light is a little bit better. That's not a common enough occurrence for people to be like, okay, time to buy a whole new phone. Plus, AR emoji is creepy, but on top of that, I don't know why they didn't add it to the S8 and S7. Like, MKBHD criticized the iPhone 10 because it had an emoji, but the 8 and 7 didn't. Apple explained why, because the 10 has certain sensors that the 8 and 10 don't. The S9 has no sensors that the S8 doesn't have. The IR sensor, the front-facing camera, those are the same type of sensors. Why can't AR emoji be on the S8 and Note 8? I don't know. Drew, what do you think of all of the new recent Android phones, Asus, Doji, OnePlus 6, having a notch and completely ripping off the new iPhone 10 after people hated it initially? I find it hilarious. I personally, Pinecone, find it predictable. This is what happens to every major release. Apple does something, everyone hates on it, everyone else does it, and they go, well, it's better. The notch is smaller, right? Personally, like, a notch is a notch. Really, size doesn't matter that much unless it's really, really hard to see. But for the most part, if it's a notch that cuts out for a sensor, it's still noticeable. You can still see it. So whether or not it's intruding on 2% of content or 4% of content, it's still an intrusion. So I don't know why people are saying that the notch is smaller, it's better. I'm still bothered by the fact that the chin on all those phones is big. What I like about the 10 is that every part of the front of it is utilized to its fullest potential. So you don't have a bottom chin that's thicker than the sides, because that's pointless. It adds nothing. There's no buttons there. We've got the side bezels the same width. And then the only reason that notch is there is because of the sensors on it. They didn't have any black bezel that didn't need to be there. They figured they can crush all of these sensors into a small enough space. And then alongside that, we'll put display there so we can put more content. It's nearly all display. The notch is only there because it absolutely has to be. And it's already rumored that they're trying to get rid of even that. Okay, William super chatted, are you collaborating with Aya Update OS? Yes, we DM'd each other, and he said he was, let's see, I have it open right here. He said he's away from the office for another week or two, but he'd love to do something in March, which it now is March. So we'd probably do something on the Tailosive Tech podcast, something like that, a sit-down conversation. So yeah, we should be doing something soon. Lots of plans. If you want to have to fit the iPhone 10, then just upload 2:1 aspect ratio. No, I hate that. Like, the headroom is fine because people who want the 10 zoom in, they have that option and it still works. Or if you don't want the 10 zoom in, it doesn't create black bars on your videos. I was watching Austin Evans' S9 video the other day on my Mac, and it's so annoying when your tech review has these giant black bars on the top, or you watch on iPad, then the black bars are extremely noticeable. So, like, if you want 16:9, you can have 16:9 because my face is not the only thing we see. We cut to other things as well. Or if you want to have it support the 10, you can just zoom in. It's really, really easy. But it looks stupid with so much headroom in 16:9. Then, okay, you can get an iPhone 10, or you can acknowledge the fact that cropping it on the sides would cause far much more controversy. I've been giving more headroom because a lot more people in the comments were saying, thank you, I watched this on my iPhone 10. So I didn't want to just film for iPhone 10 users, and I didn't want to just film for desktop users. So I tried to make the best of both worlds. I'm not going to satisfy everyone, but I'm going to try my best. should die before it really catches on. Yeah, I don't agree with it. Do you predict Apple developing a phone someday that can be completely controlled with your voice, like Bixby, but a more advanced version of voice control? I don't think that's really what users want, to be honest. I don't think articulating exactly what you want your phone to do throughout the day is really what anyone wants. I don't think that's the end goal. But if you're looking for a smart device that can do that, Apple Watch, HomePod are the closest you can get. You can just talk to those almost entirely and do pretty much everything you need to. Why didn't you give Nick the red 7 Plus? Because I didn't want his 7. It's as simple as that. Do I have to give all my friends new phones? Is that my job now? Probably. He wouldn't resist it. Do you find it irritating when YouTubers ask why the iPhone isn't as cheap as some Chinese companies' phone like OnePlus, even though those Chinese companies sell their phones at a loss? No, I think the iPhone 10 is worth its price. I don't think it's overpriced. I think it's very expensive, yes, but it's better than all the rest because you're getting something you do not get on the competition, which is iOS, that ecosystem between the AirPods, Apple Watch, all this stuff you cannot get on the competition. It's worth the price. iMessage. Can you do a backflip? I cannot. I apologize. Will future iPhones have dual aperture? I don't think so. I think that's something they did on the S9 to get attention because it is the first time that's happened. But as we've seen by the pictures, I was kind of hoping that would add something. I thought maybe with the lower aperture, we could have better bokeh effect or some kind of, I don't know, some kind of change in the camera quality if we had a manual aperture. It changes nothing, especially if you go and look at the comparison pictures. Other than low light, which again, the low light would be better if it was a manual aperture or not, because as long as the aperture is at 1.5, it would still look good even in broad daylight, as we've seen by the pictures. So I think Apple would just make a phone with a lower aperture. I don't think it would be manual. It doesn't, it wouldn't make a difference. So I don't know why that matters. Red super chatted, said, hi, wanted to thank you for making videos that put iPhones in a good light. Because of you, I've just moved from my Galaxy S8 Plus to an iPhone 10. Thank you, Red. I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the iPhone 10 as much as I've been. Right here, wirelessly charging, right there on the desk. I love my stock wallpaper. You can 3D touch that. Another thing Android doesn't have, 3D touch. To this day, well, what does it matter if you can squeeze the phone? As long as you can squeeze it, that's 3D touch, right? It's just on the frame. What do you think about the Nokia 7 Plus? William super chatted. Okay, so bad news. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna look it up real quick, and then we're gonna get into the next super chat. Oh, this is the Pixel 2 clone. I saw an article about this. It was like, here's a Pixel 2, but cheaper. Yeah, it looked good. It was like I think if the Pixel 2 was the exact same way it is now, but started at like $500, I would be totally okay with it. It's a budget smartphone. That means if it's missing features, it's justifiable. Yeah, it has like almost the exact same bezel ratio as a Pixel, except it also has, is that a dual camera? I guess it is a dual camera, yeah. Touch ID and everything. Yeah, no, it looked like a very standard budget smartphone. Yeah, that's basically what Nokia did. We were like, let's make a Pixel 2, except at the price it's supposed to be at, which was smart. Yeah, that's fine. Lucas super chatted, says, how are you doing? And when do you expect AirPower? I'm doing okay. Been very retrospective of life recently. There's been very difficult decisions I've had to make that affect, sadly, my friends, family, and girlfriend. Just between how I spend my time, what the next chapter of life is, a lot of tough decisions to make right now. But luckily, I think they all end in good decisions. No matter what I choose, it's just difficult trying to decide what is priority in life. But you don't care about that. We care about tech. So when does the AirPower come out? That's I'm still expecting March. No, we're not breaking up, by the way. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. Me and my girlfriend are still very, very close, but we have to decide a lot of things between hiring Nathan and when I can spend time with family because I'm working so much. So it's very, very difficult. But people are still saying AirPower is going to come out in March. So I'm still predicting that'll be late March via website update. I'm beyond the part of thinking that we're going to get a keynote. I don't think there's going to be a March keynote, sadly. I think that they're going to delay the SE2 release to June at WWDC, and then at the end of March, we'll get a super duper budget iPad that's extra cheap, AirPods with wireless charging, AirPower, and maybe a new iPhone 10 color if we're lucky, and maybe some new watch bands and phone case releases. We'll see. 3D Touch is pointless. Do not bring it up again, please. I use it all the time, though. Every time I'm in iMessage, I'm sending animation effects, and every time I view a live photo, I love taptic feedback, which is like one of the core reasons I use 3D Touch. I love being able to scroll through pictures and stuff and be able to like check at it really quick. See, that's from Tailosive Talks. I can just 3D Touch on it and give it a quick peek, and if I want to keep watching, I 3D Touch again. It's really fun. I prefer 3D Touch to holding it because that brings up different options. Anyway, what do you? Roberto Blake's already tweeting about the Apple debate. He's got quite a following here. He's got 20,000 followers on Twitter. Looks like he was pretty big on Vine back when that was a thing, and looks like he's on. I knew he had a bunch of. He had a bunch of subs. Yeah, his YouTube channel has 295,000 subs. So yeah, pretty big YouTuber, especially compared to me. I'm much smaller, so should be excited. I've never talked to him one-on-one, so I'm guessing during the debate we'll be able to. Anyway, good. I'm glad you guys like him. 3D Touch is useful. Whoever says it isn't are idiots. Wow, that's harsh. What do you think of, I just had a retrospect question. What do you think of aircraft not having pilots in the future? That's actually one of the reasons I decided not to become a pilot, was I realized that in the future, pilots were not going to be in the plane. But I don't really have opinions on it. Other than just I wanted to fly planes in the military, and then realized that that wasn't going to be a thing. So I wanted to pursue other stuff. And that's when I got into movie making back in 6th grade. So this was a decision made a long, long time ago. I hate live photos. If I wanted a video, I would have taken a video. You know, that's the great thing about live photos, buddy. You can turn them off. And if you don't want them, you don't need them. Matthew Valdez says, question incoming. Oh boy. Does this mean super chat, but with giant paragraph below it? Because that happens sometimes. I don't see it. Oh, okay. So I was let go from Best Buy due to the SAS stores closing. I have a couple thousand in Best Buy gift cards that I need to use before my discount is gone. Any recommendations on products I should buy? Well, how many did you say? A couple thousand? I think one thing you could do with a couple thousand, if you have not upgraded to current Apple ecosystem stuff, which is, you know, Series 3 Apple Watch, get a stainless steel one with sapphire, get a cellular, get an iPhone 10, get all the iMac and awesome stuff you can get at Best Buy. But if you're looking for minor things, with $1,000, you can still spend quite a lot less, and still you can still spend a lot and still have quite a lot left over if you go and try to HomeKit enable or smart home enable your entire house. I think would be really fun to watch. Replacing all the bulbs and light switches, it's kind of a tedious process, but making your whole house smart is a fun little perk you have if you have some money lying around. It can make a noticeable change in HomeKit stuff. I think it's rather expensive, but you know, if you have the gift cards, meaning you have to spend them, that's something I might spend them on. You can get a bunch of light bulbs and stuff. I do not get a discount on Apple products. Definitely not. Yes, I saw a front page text video on me. If you watch Tailosive Talks, you would know that. Wink, wink. But yeah, no, we're DMing each other. We're in contact. We'll be live streaming soon. Why you stream in the dark? Because it's cheaper. You guys send me money. My job is paid for by your dollars, so I don't try to spend money excessively. Even if that means skipping meals here and there, I know that it's money sent to me by you guys, and I don't want to waste your money, so I keep the lights off if they don't need to be on. I really only turn the lights on when I record a video. The rest of the day, they stay off. The lamp, the HomeKit enabled lights, they light up the room so I don't run into stuff. How do you print out a live photo? You don't. I don't actually own a printer. Live photo equals GIF. A little different. You can turn a live photo into a GIF, but yeah, they're very similar. Um, it's kind of like trying to print a GIF. Yeah, exactly. I get bullied at school for being rich because I have an iPhone 7, AirPods, and an Apple Watch Series 3. I'm sorry to hear that, Two Mouse. Keep those AirPods in. They start bugging you, turn up that volume. Tell them that you live in a wireless ecosystem. Just ignore them. I've noticed that I was bullied in middle school, but I mean, who wasn't? Everyone got bullied. I'm not trying to play the victim card here. I'm just saying that everyone gets picked on at some day, sometime in their lives. And I think what most bullies are looking for are reactions when they're picking on you. Um, they're trying to get you to react either because they're insecure or they're going through rough times in their lives and they want to feel power. And the best defense I have against bullying, especially growing up, was to not give them that reaction. Even if they would throw stuff at me, I just wouldn't react. Be like, yeah, okay. Because as long as you don't give them that reaction, as long as they say something really absurd to you and it's supposedly offensive and you just say nothing and you're like, doesn't bother me, they're probably not going to keep going unless it can get worse. I know that's not going to work in all situations, but it worked for me. I didn't give bullies reaction. Anytime they tried to push me over, I would just keep walking or just not react. And usually worked out. Okay. They usually always come back or something, but I don't know. Me and my friends were always really weird in middle school, so we could usually make some inside jokes or make some noises with our mouth and creep them out and be like, "Oh God, these kids don't make any sense. I'm going to stay away from them." Or one thing I actually tried one time when there was a certain uh, girl bully I'd gone to school with my whole life, and this gal was picking on me, and me and my friends would always like to sit at a certain table, and then she started sitting at that table specifically and said, "What? We were here. You can't sit here anymore." Um, so when that happened, I decided to make her feel bad by being nice to her. So she was like, "No, we're going to sit here." And I said, "Okay, well, we sit here every day, so we're going to sit here as well." So I sat down and I offered her Oreos. I felt like I was in an Oreo commercial. So handed her 4 Oreos and I said, "Here, if you're going to sit here, I might as well let you eat something." Um, and she was very confused by that because I could tell she was just trying to get reactions out of me. She was trying to pick on me. But then I offered her food and I said, "Here, can I get you something else?" I guess that kind of guilt tripped her into being like, "Man, I'm kind of being mean to this guy who's being nice to me." And then she didn't bother me after that. So it worked out. Anyway, what grade was that? Seventh grade. No, that, that did not progress into a romantic relationship. No, not at all. She didn't talk to me much after that. And I haven't seen her since junior year of high school. So it's been a long time. Anyway, Ascari says, "Drew, use this for a nice meal. Skipping meals is not okay, and your stability and well being is far more important to me than anything you can do on YouTube. Please don't destroy yourself." Well, that was very generous. You didn't have to do that. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, I'm just trying to use your guys' money effectively. I don't like wasting it on things. That's why I don't buy expensive cars. I don't buy expensive mods. I don't do drop tests. I don't do water tests. I'm trying to spend my money in the best way possible for the channel. Everything goes back into the business. None of it goes into my pocket. But still, I very much appreciate it. Yes, a lot of my friends and family also tell me not to skip meals. That's probably a good idea. I don't blame you. Health is important. It's just difficult when you're trying to prioritize so many different things. I'm trying to prioritize work. I'm trying to keep you guys important, and I'm still trying to challenge myself with new skills and projects on YouTube with the Grown Up ad and the other Tailosive channels. And top of that, trying to spend enough time with my girlfriend and my family and my friends. And health sadly comes after all those things, even though it probably shouldn't. But either way, next super chat is from Matthew, who says, "Do you think Apple will adopt phones that convert from phone to a tablet, or they will be onto what is next by the time that tech is feasible?" I don't think personally that's something that will happen. Of course, I could be wrong. You can cut back to this someday if I ever say, if that ever ends up happening. But I personally think foldable, movable tech is not really the future. It's for one, from what we've seen of technology that can do that as of right now, you have to sacrifice on a lot of things. So in order to make tech that is flexible and bendable, you have to sacrifice on circuitry and displays and bezels and battery lives and stuff like that. And they probably don't want to do that. And it will make more sense to just keep designing tablets that are tablets and iPhones that are iPhones, not trying to make some kind of iPhone that folds out, because then you get an okay iPhone in an okay tablet, kind of like Surface Pro is trying to be a tablet and a laptop. You get a weird looking laptop that cannot support itself, and a weird looking laptop, and a weird looking what did I say? A weird looking laptop that can't prop itself up, and you got a weird looking tablet that cannot do most things most other tablets do. So anyway, that's the way I look at it. I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't invest in that. I would rather just each category get better. But that's it. Convertibles are not that good in both things. Exactly. Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none, as they say. 4K video call is pointless. Why would you want that? Is that a thing? Is FaceTime not in 4K if you use rear facing? Probably not. Probably internet for most people doesn't. If I'm wrong on this, but I've heard that if they decided to go with that CPU that is not the Snapdragon 845, which is even slower than that of a 2-year-old iPhone, it's still almost as fast as an iPhone 10. So they haven't quite nailed the 5-month-old iPhone yet, and it's coming out in 2 weeks. But I could be wrong. I'm sorry. It might be faster. I'm not following chips that are not in smartphones, but were supposed to be. I don't really follow all that kind of stuff. Or it's available in Korea because I can't buy that, or I could. It's just more complicated. Okay. If Elon Musk wanted to create a phone, would you buy it to review it? I don't think he would personally. I think Elon Musk always invests and does companies and projects that he thinks are critical things that humanity needs to deal with, whether it's becoming multiplanetary or becoming energy independent and being able to rely on electric power instead of gas power, or how we're going to handle traffic and transportation in the future as humanity's population rises. I don't think Elon Musk is concerned about the smartphones on the market. So that's why I don't think that's going to happen. But if he did, it would heavily depend on the OS it run. Like if it was a Tesla Android phone, I probably wouldn't care for it that much. But if they designed their own OS, that might be interesting. I don't know. I'm not sure. That would definitely depend on how good it was or if it had an ecosystem. If MQHD paid you to go to work for him, but you had to leave Tailosive Tech, all other Tailosive channels are safe, would you? Well, that's an interesting theory. Probably not. I would have to move across the country and leave quite a bit of life behind, and I'm very happy with where I am right now. But I did see who he did hire. I checked out that channel, which was a really interesting channel. It was a pretty small YouTuber. I think he was smaller than me, but his cinematography was excellent. He was really good at filming things. So I could see why Marquez hired him. But no, I have a lot of specific ideas for this channel, and I feel like if I was hired by Marquez, I would be videoing and editing, and that's not my passion. I'm more into the actual journalism part of it. In fact, I'm willing to pay my editor to film and edit for me. So yeah, I'm not pursuing the production part of YouTube being, if that's a verb. I'm more into the creative writing and journalism part of it. So probably wouldn't. Matthew super chatted, says, thanks for the responses tonight. Bedtime for me. Keep it up, Drew. Have a good night, Matthew. Thanks for watching. Do you eat food? Occasionally. Yeah, sometimes it happens. Why don't you work at Apple? If they ask me for an interview, I'll check it out. But so far, they haven't. Do you predict that Apple will remove the webcam on the MacBooks? No, I think they'll always keep some kind of tiny webcam in there. It might. I'm not saying it'll be good, but they'll always have something. Okay. Drew's going to eat food if my $20 has something to say about it. Okay, Escari, I promise I'll go eat something. Do you drink pizza? No. What colors do you want on a future iPhone? I'd be really excited to see a glossy gold color one. I like the concepts that have been coming out. Or a product red would be really neat. But yeah, more colors of anything, everything. There should be more colors. I can't think of an iPhone product that has too many colors. Just everything needs more diversification. Have you watched Video Game High School? Yes, seasons 1 through 3. I don't like the ending very much, but overall the series is pretty good. Is this like a live Ask Tailosive? Pretty much. We like to do these twice a week, so there's more audience interaction, because while the channel is small, interacting with audience on a more individual level is very doable. And I want to take advantage of this because in the future, that'll be less and less possible. If we get to the point where I have 500,000 subs one day, 1 million subs or more, being able to respond to individual fans is going to be very, very difficult. So that's why I'm trying to take advantage of this right now as I can. Hey, Roberto Blake's watching. We got a super chat. It says, what features would you add to an Apple product? Wow, that's a big question. What features would I add? I really like face chat bubbles on Android. That's about the one thing on Android I wish I had. That's about it, though. That's being able to leave iMessage and have the face chat bubble go around the screen. I think there's a way to make that intuitive. Features I would like to add. I wish we could have complete portlessness. I don't want any ports on my phone anymore. I'm part of that. I'm part of that audience. I would prefer it if we could have all wireless charging, all wireless headphones. But yeah, that's just me. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'm ready for it. I've been doing the portless challenge with my iPhone so far. More colors. You can count that as a feature, I guess. I want more colors across all of them. Vibrate keyboard feedback. I've seen a couple third-party keyboards add that, but I'm fine without it. But I guess if they added it, I'd probably like it because Apple makes really, really good taptic engines. Why do people go crazy over concept phones? I don't know. I guess, this is something I thought about earlier because we were just recording the Tailosive Tech podcast right before we went live here. So you can look forward to that pretty quick. But what kind of confuses me is I think over a year ago now, Vivo introduced another concept phone at some conference that actually had an optical zoom setup where the lenses using mirrors were able to zoom in, actual, not digital zoom, optical zoom via lenses. And they were like, this is a technology we could implement in future smartphones someday. So this might actually happen. We haven't seen that either. So when they make something like the Vivo Apex phone and they're like, oh, look, bezel-less display, pop-up, oh, Touch ID in the screen. Vivo's kind of common for making concepts that never actually make it to, if we could actually make it to real life products. You can't buy these things. I mean, they talk about the Vivo Apex as a concept, but then what we actually see as the final product is the Vivo X20 Plus, which, compromises on everything. Terrible camera, outdated processor, low pixel per inch, charges via micro USB. It's 2018 and that smartphone charges via micro USB. All of that for $700 because it has one tiny Touch ID sensor, or as they call Clear ID, underneath the display. I don't think that's worth it, personally. I don't know anyone who would actually buy that because as an overall package, it's a joke. It's the first phone that can accompany a Clear ID sensor to Touch ID through the display. But other than that, it's not a good purchase. It's the first to a new technology, but it nails absolutely nothing else. And I mean, that's just looking at the tech specs. So if you want to say, Drew, you've never used it, I guess I haven't, but I can tell you from me saying Clear ID isn't practical in this package. Thank you, Roberto. I'm glad you agree. We also had a super chat here. It says, buy an 8, 10, or wait for the 2018 iPhone update. I'm going to say 10 because I like the features and the bezel-less display you get with the 10. But I also know a lot of people who prefer the 8 Plus because of the size, the width. The great thing about that choice is it's a win-win-win. You'll get a good product either way. I think, let's see, iPhone 10, you're getting kind of close, I'd say. iPhone 10's been out for around 5 months. So you're getting near the end of the buying cycle where it's going to stay ripe. It's going to be a premium flagship for a long time. I'd say maybe you're safe right now to get a 10 if you can afford it. But if you still need to save for the 10 and you haven't bought it yet, go ahead and wait, save up your money, save up a little extra money so you can get the 2018 version because that'll obviously be better. Let's see. In the future, if Drew were to do this, you will have to super chat to get Drew to answer. Well, that's kind of how it is now. But yeah, I'd say in the future, it might get really, really complicated where we have to only allow certain super chats, or only sponsors can be in the chat, because if you get to a certain channel size, it becomes impossible to try to read everything. Okay. FaceTime without multi-user support is good. Group calls are already in other third-party chat. I've seen like group FaceTime calls on smartphones, and it's just very bizarre. I don't I don't like them. Yeah, I don't know. You look tired. I'm a little tired, but that's okay. We got time. Yes, we're Ascari. We're still going to get on to that interview chat, but if it makes you feel any better, I haven't seen my family in a week either, so I'm trying to balance everything as effectively as possible. But yes, we'll still have that. We're still DMing each other, so that's still happening. Group calls are good. Yeah, Evan, use those apps. They exist. You don't need them in face. They're awkward because you have to load like 3 other people's live streams while also uploading your own. What was the DxO Mark score for the S9, and what was better, that or the 10? It beat the 10, but that wasn't my point. I was tweeting about the S9 Plus is the highest rated smartphone camera for on DxO Mark. It beat the Pixel 2, which I love because that means that the Pixel 2, as it advertised itself as the highest rated smartphone camera, was the highest rated smartphone camera for 4 months, and now it's already been beaten by the competition. So also, the S9 Plus is cheaper. Keep that in mind. Also has wireless charging. Also has a headphone jack. If you care about that, I don't, but if you do. On top of that, though, DxO Mark is not really how I like to review smartphones. The only reason I brought it up was because Google claims that's like the go-to. That's what you should look to when trying to compare smartphone cameras. You should trust these people because they know what they're talking about. And now those people that Google went and told you to trust to say, look, Pixel 2 is the best, is now being beaten by a different company. That's why it's hilarious to me. Not because I think DxO Mark is correct. Obviously, all smartphone cameras these days are becoming so tied in terms of features and pixel quality, and they're all fine. They're all great. It doesn't matter. I just love that Google's idea of how to rate smartphone cameras has now been bested them. Only care about headphone jack because of mic input for content creators. But I mean, you can use your smartphone for mics, but you probably shouldn't if you're a professional. And if you're not a professional, you can use the mic on board the smartphone camera anyway. So I am now 20. I am now 20 years old. I've never heard of DxO Mark before Google brought it up. Yeah, that's why they put the Pixel at the top, I think, is because they get paid. Google pays them. So you've never reviewed the iPhone 3G. Why? I was literally like 10 years old when that came out, so maybe that's why. How long did it take to get 1,000 subs? Well, if you consider it when I first started making YouTube videos, it took 8 years. But if you're talking about as soon as I started how long it took the tech channel to get 1,000 subs, 3 years. It's a little different there. What do you use to make your thumbnail? I use a combination of Adobe Photoshop and the Over app on iOS, which I really like. I'm not really 3G. I wasn't a big fan of. Someone sent me a 3G a while back, in case you remember that, and I got to try it out and hold it for a while. I'm not a fan of that feel. Very plasticky, weak feel, home button, kind of awkward. I wasn't a fan of the 3G design personally, and I don't like that it curves like a boat, like it rocks on surfaces. It's annoying. But if you have a 3G box, that's something I don't have in the collection, and you don't want it anymore, that would definitely make it on one of the higher shelves because I don't have one. The 5C, at least it doesn't rock. The 5C is a fairly solid phone. Drew, I think you should answer more questions in the context of Apple's wider user base instead of just what applies to you. Well, I try to talk about things I know about. So if I don't know about jailbreak or if I don't know about the 3G, then I'm not going to pretend I do. So my point on Tailosive Tech is to be honest. So I'm not going to pretend I know about certain things if I don't. That's why when someone asks me about something I don't know, I'm upfront about it. Like that Zynos 9810 chip or whatever it was. See, that proves my point. I don't remember what it was. I'll tell you that I don't know about it. I think I have an old 3GS box. 3GS box. If I find it, I'll send it. Thank you. Exynos 9810. I don't know, whatever it was. I don't know how to pronounce these names. I can pronounce Tailosive, but that's about it. It's because I made it up. Do you find it funny when companies cave in to their consumers like Samsung did with the SD card after they removed it on the S6? It is funny. I mean, they credit it to themselves as being, we listen to our fans, but it's really just, we messed up. Kind of like the Touch ID placement on the S8. They were like, oh, everyone hates this. Okay, move it. Thank you for super chatting, Crystal White. No question, but appreciate it. I meant more like you said you want Apple to remove the Lightning port. I agree. However, it's too soon given the majority of Apple users aren't ready. Well, I mean, most people probably weren't ready for the headphone jack to go away when the 7 came out. I'm just telling people to get ready for the inevitable switch so that it is not a big pain in the butt when it does happen. I'm saying that the Lightning port will go away at some point. So if you get used to it being gone now, participate in the portless challenge, you'll be better off. Whereas, yeah, I'm not trying to acknowledge that. Oh, Apple, no, I use the Lightning port. What if I want to charge and listen to headphones at the same time? Try to think ahead of the curve. That way, the conversions are very simple. Tell my middle name if it makes you feel better. I don't know why that has to be kept a secret. Lawrence spelled Laurence. I don't know why that matters, but that's my middle name. I don't know what you can do with that. Andrew Lawrence Erickson. There you go. What is the worst or least likable iPhone in your opinion? I guess the 3GS. I don't like the design of that. Do you think Lightning port gets changed to USB-C before they go full wireless? Asks Roberto. I don't think so personally. I think if Apple thought USB-C was the future of smartphones, they would have switched to it by now. The fact that they haven't means that they think that ditching Lightning for portless, I think that is the new standard. The new standard they're going with is wireless. They want you to use wireless headphones, inductive charging. That's where they think everyone is going. If they didn't think that was the new standard and they thought USB-C was the new standard, they would have put that on iPhones by now. But they know that if they do switch the next iPhone, if they do switch the next iPhone to USB-C, then everyone's just going to get mad that all their Lightning headphones don't work and all their Lightning chargers don't work. So sure, they lose money, but that's, I mean, all companies are focused on profit. That's a very common thing. But yeah, I think they're trying to utilize all of the old Lightning cables and all the old Lightning chargers while they can until they're ready for the new standard, which is inductive charging. So I saw someone bring up that your last name sounds like it is from Sweden. It is. Ericsson is a Swedish name. My family is very heavily Swedish. In fact, my great-grandma, who passed away a couple of years ago, lived in Sweden. She actually immigrated from Sweden. So our family is very, and then her children married other people that immigrated from Sweden. So it was kind of a big subculture of Swedish people throughout the 20th century between World War I and World War II. So my family is very, I've never been to Sweden. I'm still American, but I'm very heavily Swedish in my heritage. Can your chair do this? Yes, but I'm not going to prove it. Yes, we are collaborating with Front Page Tech today. 7 hours. My sisters are also Swedish. Hello, Siri. Where can I hide a dead body? That's not one. Will you go back to the other stream format? So there's a couple reasons I prefer this stream format to the old one. I know it's not the crispest one. It's not shot on a DSLR. It's shot on a webcam, or maybe the audio isn't as good. But for one, it's very, very complicated to set up. It's a very continuous process of like, okay, let me get the Elgato, get the DSLR set up, power it in, plug this in over here, set it up to the MacBook, hook it up to game capture. Like, it's a very complicated setup I had over there. And as you guys remember, hopefully you guys remember, it's not very reliable. You have to plug in the Elgato to the DSLR, into the Quack into the MacBook, and then charge the MacBook and also power the camera and move the desk. All of that to go right, and then all of the comments say, audio and video is out of sync. hey, everything's out of sync, and that's all the comments. And all I can do, I can't do anything to fix it. It's literally just me saying, well, refresh, I guess, try to refresh. Um, so doing that every single time, or having people say, hey, the angle's not straight and you need to fix it, and getting everything on a tripod and I'm trying to make it level, just very, very complicated. So that's why I prefer this setup, is I can just hit go and then I'm done. I don't need to plug in anything or set up anything. It's much easier. And the chat, as far as I'm concerned, is much more focused, where the comments are more question based and not format based. And whenever I do the Elgato setup, audio's messed up, things are out of order, people get confused about everything, and I have to work about 10 minutes to set everything up. And I was getting late on live streams a lot. And then, of course, with the most recent one, the Elgato wasn't working correctly and you couldn't hear me at all. So, yeah, that's why I'm against it. Okay, Aaron super chatted, says, when do you think Apple will make it so you can put your driver's license ID on your phone like Apple Pay, truly replace the wallet? Well, Aaron, while I would really like that, sadly, it's not really up to Apple. I think that's more of a government thing. In order for you to be able to drive safely with a driver's license, you'd have to have your phone. But California is more about you turning your phone off and not looking at it while driving. So I think that's more, and that varies from country to country. So it would be kind of complicated to imply that. But I hope they do that one day. But again, that's relying on the government, not Apple. I'm sure if Apple had it their way, they would implement it like that. But I'm guessing it's not going to happen for a while. My guess. Again, if it did, that would be really, really cool, and I do hope that happens. Okay, we got another couple super chats from Apple Juice. Says, do you think Apple Watch will ever be able to unlock the iPhone like it does on MacBook? Does it not? I get confused sometimes. When you unlock the watch, I guess it doesn't unlock the phone. Maybe that's too easy. Maybe they're like, well, if someone stole your phone off you, they could unlock it and run away. I don't know. Maybe they decided that's too easy. I'm not sure. Maybe. Maybe that could be an option. It's something you want to turn on if you feel like it. Who knows? Ryan Hannaford super chatted, says, make a video back in the attic. I want green walls. You should see the attic now. In fact, if you were subscribed to Tailosive Talks, you would see what the attic looks like now, because I went back there a couple weeks ago and vlogged it. Unlocking phone unlocks the watch, which unlocked your Mac. Exactly. So if you watch the Grown Up ad, you notice I didn't enter a password. I didn't enter a passcode throughout the entire day. I just opened my iPhone 10 with my face, which unlocked the watch, and that unlocked the Mac. Very simple. Very easy. Okay. Green walls for April 1st. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was going to prank everyone. But now you all know it's going to happen. So whatever. Let's see. Oh, no, there doesn't need to be a camera on the Apple Watch, please. Yeah, MKBHD said it was too green, but that was because I asked him to. I was actually glad I left, because during that collaboration, when me and him talked for an hour, he was saying that everyone has bias, even I have bias. Like, for instance, I don't like the color green. So if a company made a green phone, I wouldn't like it as much. And I was like turning around. I was like, oh, no. My whole room is your least favorite color. But then, of course, that was the last video we ever shot in that room. We were moving out of that attic like the hour after we filmed that collaboration video. So, yeah. I wonder if he thought we all moved out because he said that. Probably not, but that would have been funny. What are your thoughts on the Apple Podcast app? I'll be honest. Ooh, there was a voice crack in there. Flashbacks of the attic. I think it works fine. I'm okay with it. I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, to be honest. I record a lot, so that's probably why I don't listen a lot. I listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast, and that's about it. So it works fine for me. I don't have any complaints. If there's big issues with it, I don't know about them. See there? Honesty. See, I'm not appealing to every Apple user, but it's because I don't know about everything. Okay. Aaron Super Chatted says, do you think Beats brand is on its way out? Well, if you're owned by Apple, I mean, it's kind of hard to go out of business. I mean, Beats could Apple could resorb Beats and be like, you're a part of our company now, but that's not really on its way. Well, I guess the Beats brand would be on its way out. I think it might be in decline, yeah, but the people working for Beats will be fine in the end, I guess. Okay, if both iPhone and Samsung ran iOS, which phone would you prefer then? Ooh, that's a good question. See, that's the thing. It doesn't though. Like, what do you mean by S9? Because the reason the iPhone 10 has better Geekbench scores and better optimization is because that was designed by Apple. So I don't know. That's why I'd say that's not a question I have to answer. Luckily, we don't know which design. I mean, I'm fine with the 10. I don't like the chin on the S9. I don't like the fingerprint reader because I can't use it, fingers. I prefer Face ID to iris scanning. So I don't know. I luckily don't have to answer that, but I prefer the iPhone 10's design because it's designed by Apple and it's got iOS on it. And that's what I really care about. W1 chip on Beats? Yes, they have that. But oh my God, it's 12:30. Sorry guys, we've got a lot of editing to do for tomorrow's vid, and tomorrow's collaboration video on Front Page Tech will not be here. Keep that in mind, but we've reached our hour, which is what we like to do. So sadly, we're going to end it here. I appreciate all the super chats, all the questions, donations, very much appreciated. They go to support directly to this network. I hope you guys realize that. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great evening. End live stream. Bye.